I had situations. In order for me, I have full custody of my daughter. And in order for me to get him, because I knew he was a revengeful kind of person, that even if we broke up, he would never, if I needed to travel with my daughter, he would never give me permission for that. He would make me suffer for it because he loved doing that. So I remember before I filed for full custody, I had asked my neighbors to help me because they all knew what was going on, and I needed them to come to court to say what was going on, but they were all afraid of him, so they all rejected me. They all said no. I have had a bruised rib from him. I have had a broken finger from him. And the last one, which was the best one for me, was because he hit me so much in my face, I couldn't open my mouth for 2 weeks. I couldn't eat, I couldn't swallow, like everything hurt so bad. And that was when I went there's a place you go to report abuse. And I had gone 3 days after, or 4 days after, and then the bruises had come off and everything, because I knew that was it. I needed full custody. They took my measurements and everything, and they told me I had 3 months to report him to the police, but that was never my plan. I needed something to use against him at this point. So when I asked him to give me full custody of my daughter, of course he thought I was mad and tried to raise his voice. But at this time I had proof. He always used to say I was crazy, that he never hits me like that. He made me feel crazy. The only time I used to scream at him was when my cup was so full with anger that I was ready for the beating. I was ready for anything, like, you gonna hear me today. I remember he used to tell my mother a lot, don't think your daughter is innocent. She knows exactly what she's doing. And I used to look at him like, what am I doing? You think me screaming at you once a year when I have the balls to do it justifies you torturing my mind every other day? You like, how do you justify that in your head? But anyway, when he saw I had documents, he went with me to court. He signed the papers for me. I had full custody of my daughter. They asked me if I wanted him to pay child support and everything. In my mind, I'm like, from where? Like, what money? I should have done that at that moment also, because it could have helped maybe in the future. But as God is well and God is good, he has always helped me. Like, I'm so at ease. Anyway. Yeah, I did that. Anyway, a lot of things happened. This story might be part 2 or 3. I don't know how many. We're going to bisect it. The one that broke the camel's back. I was so used to all his relationships at this time. Mind you, this is like, we were like 7 years or something, or 8. He got into a new relationship with this girl who is presently his baby mama right now. I'm happy for her because sometimes your children are all you need. He dated this girl for, I think it was 4 years or 5 years before we actually split. It started on one of the times when we were not together for a week. He had an affair with a girl. I would ask him about her because I started seeing I didn't even know this girl. I just noticed that our t-shirts from the clothing line was tagged on this girl, and I said, oh look, somebody bought the shirt. So I go to look at the page and I'm like, oh, this girl is kind of pretty and everything. And before I knew it, I'm like, wait, hold on, that's the other apartment. Hold on, why is she almost naked on the couch? Hold on. And that was how I found out that he was in a thing with this girl. You know, I didn't even know. And then I asked him, of course he denied it, till later on she started posting even more sexy things, and she would make all these reference codes towards me, you know, and I would ask him, and we used to fight about it. At this point, in my mind, I'm like, why are you even still trying to be with this man? Like, leave this man alone. Wait till, on top of it, break wasn't even all that. So it wasn't even the sex to say, oh, I was staying there for that, you know. We would fight over her, and this was back then. I think she was 20 or 21, you know. And I'm like, why is you letting this happen? Every time he tells me, nah, it was just something he had with her while we were not together, blah blah blah. It's me he loves, that he doesn't even want anything to do with her, that she even became a stalker and all that, blah blah blah. Me, like Mumu, I believe everything they say. I always believe everything they say. Time goes by, I still see this girl taking pictures in his house. Okay, what's the excuse now? It was always something. At the same time, it was later on I realized that at the same time, he's telling this other girl stories, because after we finally broke up for the final time, she released some videos out, which was, she was making fun, talking about relationships and talking about how, why don't women act right after they get a man, that, oh, you. So apparently, from what I understood, he had given her the impression that we were not having sex for 5 years in the relationship, and that I wasn't taking care of myself, and I was very unsexy in the house, and I would only dress up when I would go out to men. See, he told her all types of bull crap, that at this point now, I realized that her anger and frustration towards me and the things she would post was because she was like, babes, if you don't like this dude, let me have him. Let me have him, you know? And then I didn't know what was going on. This went on for months. I remember one time I met the girl in the club. And like a little child, she jumped in the corner, because at this point, trust me, I was ready to lay hands on anyone. I would never fight a woman for a man. That is not me, straight up. But I would fight you for knowingly disrespecting me. You can sleep with my man all you want, but do not come for me. I never did anything wrong to you, so don't come for me. So I was always on guard, but she, like a child, would hide in the corner, and then the second she gets home, she would talk, blah blah blah. I'm like, that's your business. This went on for years. Like the fights we had, I would try to talk to him. I would be in Nigeria, and I would see messages from his. I would see things that I wasn't supposed to see. I remember I had bought my daughter these little clip-ons for her hair, and I would see videos of her with those things on her hair, and I'm like, are you for real? Like, are you for real? I would see videos with clothes I bought for him on her, and I'm like, At this point I was already prepared my exit. At this point, I was done. I can't remember what exactly happened. Oh, I remember now. My sister goes into Big Brother. And all of a sudden, after so many years, which at that point I didn't see it because I was so deep into this toxic relationship that I didn't realize what was going on. Mind you, so much happened within these years that I don't even remember them till I look into my notes. So all of a sudden, my sister goes to Big Brother and I start to promote her. That was the scariest thing I ever had to do because I had lost my voice so much. I had forgotten how to talk. And now I found myself in a corner where I am addressing a crowd, a very vicious crowd. And I'm like, God, all these years I've been quiet with this man and so silent. How do I do this? How do I do this? But I got myself together and he helped me do it, you know. And then he proposes online, which at that time I didn't find it weird. I thought it was cool. I was gonna get married finally. Because at this point, according to my friend, it wasn't even love at this point. It was my ego. My ego had invested too much money. I had invested too much time. And I didn't want to fail. And I wanted my daughter to have a father. So I was comfortable. I was so comfortable with all the bullshit that I still wanted that ring. So he proposed to me, and it's so funny when I told his mother that, look, I'm engaged. Do you know what this woman dared to say to me? She said, oh, thank God. Now finally you can act like a wife. When I heard those words, I'm like, what? Now finally I can act like a wife? So what the fuck have I been doing all this time? I pay for your son's literally breeding. I buy his clothes. I cook his food. I take care of his business. I take care of everything. And you're telling me that I can finally be a wife? Like, what have I been doing all this time? Then I swear my skin I literally burst into hives. Like my hands, the ring wasn't even fitting well. For some reason, he didn't even think enough to measure my finger because it was too much for him. He had a plan. I mean, I think he had a plan because it's so funny that while he was proposing, a lot of people say, oh, look at him, he's proposing now after 10 years when you already, your sister is in Big Brother, you know, they insinuated some things which I didn't pay attention to, but right now I believe it, that he probably thought that that was a ticket out and we were gonna get super famous, so hey, let's roll, you know. I couldn't sit comfortable. Like, he had to take the ring to get sized because it just was too small for my finger. Mind you, at this point, like, we were going through so much. I remember, like, see, apart from physical abuse and emotional, mental, verbal abuse, there's sexual abuse. And a lot of people feel like if you're married, it's considered you're married, so nothing. You can get raped in your relationships. Mind you, it didn't happen to me, a rape in my relationship, but I remember a time when he started feeling insecure. He started feeling like he was losing me because I had my friend over here, Nunu, that she was like, babes, this ain't normal. You can't keep doing this. You're literally destroying your child. So at this point, I already started getting smart, but I still lacked some things here and there. So he knew I was getting clever. So he started becoming even more pushy, more. Now, literally, for the last, I think 2-3 years, we had to have sex every single night. Every single night. That was his way of showing me how masculine he was. Whether I was tired, whether I was in a mood, whether I hated him, whether I didn't hate him, it didn't matter. It had to be every single night, including some days when I was on my menstrual cycle. See, it got so bad because first of all, I would do the whole foreplay thing. I would even indulge you. I would go through that with you. And after keeping me there for almost an hour, he would tell me he's not satisfied. It's not enough. He needs more. My nigga, I gotta cook, clean, take care of our child, find money to pay all our damn bills, and an hour is not enough for you. Some days, because he would tell me, well, if you don't give it to me, I'll get it somewhere else. Mind you, I knew that there was a girl in the picture, so my automatic alert would be like, oh no, just babe, just try, you know, just do it, because if not, he's gonna go there, you know. Never again. If you want to walk out of my life, I would open the door so wide for you and kick you out myself. You won't even know what hit you. You won't even see it coming. I went 2-3 years of my life having intercourse every single day. It wasn't fun anymore. I would sit in the kitchen for hours cooking or doing something, just begging for him to go to sleep. Begging for him to go to sleep. And guess what? You know, when you're trying not to make noise, he will fall asleep. When you're trying not to make noise, I will be trying to sneak to go to the room, and boom, I will drop something and he'll wake up. Come here, baby. Hey, over again. Same thing every single day. It became so bad that was why I went to therapy the first time. It was so bad that I had to call me and my mom would talk about everything. We talk about everything. But I had to call my mother and ask her, please, when you were married, how many times is too much to be intimate with a person? And of course, she gave me her own theory of it, which I thought was normal. Every day, and one time wasn't enough. And the days where I had the strength, I would even push it to 2. And then even after the 2, he still had the nerve to tell me that it wasn't enough. It was never enough. That's why I went to therapy the first time. I had to find a solution to keep my man, because at this point, I didn't want to lose. I felt like I've given so much years of my life. I had to win something. And at the same time, my ego was trying to win with the other girl, which was so young compared to me. And some part of me felt like, damn, you know, and I should have never done that. I should have just let her have him. It's so funny, so many times I ask myself, why me? But why me? Poor little me. Why is this happening to me? I'm nice, but why? But guess what? Now, I realized I put myself in that situation. This is why I tell people to take their time to know themselves, to know what makes them tick and what makes them cringe. You know yourself. Because now I can honestly say I got into this relationship because I was lonely. I was alone in Romania. I wanted someone to be there for me. I put my love in the wrong person. I closed my eyes to every red flag, and I just put myself deeper and deeper in an entanglement that was never ending. So who is really to blame? Is it him that, hey, I gave him every opportunity to do what he was doing to me. Like, I never left, I never arrested him, I never did anything, so why would he stop? He was eating his cake and having it very smoothly. You know, why would he stop? You have to learn to make a decision for yourself. Doesn't matter what people say. If you find yourself in the wrong situation, you need to back out of it for your own self. You know, the one thing he used to tell me all the time, oh, you think you're so beautiful, I'm gonna destroy this face of yours. Now, thank God I was lucky enough to get out of this relationship without bruises and scars visible, although my heart was bruised in ways I never even thought. I was done with relationships. I'm like, you know what, Even when I remember when I got pregnant for the second time, which, it's so funny because one of the issues I had, so being in a relationship with him, we never used to use condoms, you know, because I didn't think we should. But I remember after my baby was born, I caught a case of something, you know, and I had gone to the doctor and I said, something ain't right, you know, I'm not feeling well, blah, 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 blah. And he asked me if I was having an affair outside, and I said no. And he asked me if my man was cheating, and I said no. And he says, well, you got something, and somebody definitely doing something. I remember the anger in me. I bought the pills, which we had to take for 2 weeks, and I went home, and that was one day he allowed me be me. I went apeshit. I'm like, I'm not gonna die on top of prick. No. After then, I started using condoms. Like, I did not feel safe in my relationship anymore. I told you, every time he went out, he would come back with a more aggressive pattern. It was always something more wild that we never did, and I always knew. So I'm like, let's say I can't keep myself. If you want to get sick, do you? What really bothers me about people who cheat is you're so inconsiderate and selfish of me. You're putting your life at risk, but you're risking mine too. If we got a case of something very graphic, let's say HIV or something, you're putting our child's life at risk. Do you understand? So from then, I said, no more. I don't care what relationship it is. You're gonna bag up because it's too much of a risk for play. I ain't doing it. I went back and forth all the time to him. I went back to him so many times because he told me he changed. He changed. And I believed him. I would tell him how, listen, because I noticed his anger wasn't only towards me. He was angry at life. His life didn't go the way it was supposed to go. This is why it's so good to invest in your children when they are young. Give them both mentally, emotionally, financially, give them stability so that when they grow up, they don't do stupid things. He got himself, he told me a lot of things about his life. I knew a lot of things about his life, but it's not my story to tell. So there were things that led him to this, to become this angry human being, this angry. Every time we would come back together, he would promise he would go to therapy with me. That was the grounds on which I was allowing him to come back. And guess what? After 3 days of being comfortable and lovey-dovey and ovey, and I would bring up the topic of therapy, he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it no more. He said he's good. He said he can fix this. I shouldn't worry. What was I going to do? It became harder and harder to kick him out of the house because he would break things. I had holes everywhere in my house. This is my house that I worked so hard for. I had holes everywhere in my house. It became so bad that I would try to hide them with paintings. So, you know, people would come in the house and ask me questions, and it was just too much. Too many things happened. Towards the end, I remember when he realized that, okay, this girl is getting smart, he started pretending to change. I actually believed at that moment that maybe he even loved me a bit. Maybe he was so used to me that he was changing, but it was false. This particular day, he came over to the house. He helped me cook. He went with me and my mother to the store. It was like we were back together, and I was so happy. And he told me when the food was almost ready that he had to run to go do something with a friend. I said, cool. I didn't think of anything. I didn't think of anything wrong. And that night he forgot his watch, his iWatch at my house. And some part of me said, check it. So I checked the watch, and what I saw, like literally, he was in my house convincing me how I am the best thing that ever happened to him, that he doesn't want to lose this family. And at the same time, he was talking to his fourth baby mama while she was at the pool, and she was like, come over, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, he's working. And he was asking her about what her mother was cooking, because at this point he knew it was over between me and him. So he was trying to get into the family. He had that thing of blending into the family. He would go over there, make the mother feel special, like, oh my God, your cooking is so amazing, you know. So he told me that day he couldn't eat my food after we spent hours cooking, that he was gassy. But that was only because he knew he was going somewhere else to eat. He was buttering the bed for the other side, and she was okay with it. I remember I went crazy that day, and I called his phone, and when I couldn't get his phone, I called her, and she didn't pick up the phone, but later on she did, and she didn't believe anything I said. She didn't believe he was at my house that day. I said, okay, cool. I don't know, there was a huge fight before. Mind you, me and him, we were engaged twice. The first time we were engaged, after a few weeks, he pretended to throw away the ring, and then we got re-engaged again, and now I still have the ring. I tried to give it to him the last time I saw him, but we got into a big blowout, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm keeping the damn ring. Stupid ass ring. But I remember when we were finally done, he had moved in with her. I remember not being able to cry for 6 months. I couldn't cry. Well, like, I remember that last fight we had, that last day when he packed the rest of his things. He bought boxes and packed the rest of his things out of the house. I remember how I danced and cried in the house. That was the last day I was able to cry for the next 6 months. I was so relieved. I was, at this point, I wanted the girl to have him. I had told myself, this is it. I can't do it. 11 years later of torture, of mind fuckery, of being depressed constantly. I was depressed so much that it became a routine. I didn't even know the difference anymore. I was always so slim, and I was still, you know, trying to survive. I was so happy for him to leave. After he left, my daughter, because she would always go to, when he was around, she would always go to sleep, and then she would always come out and look at us, because we'll be smiling 1 second and she'll be like, okay, I can sleep now. And then she'll wake up in the middle of the night crying, you know, or just coming back and checking on us to make sure we're okay. Like, I've messed up my child's life because I wasn't strong enough to leave a toxic situation. After he left, I was like a zombie for a while, because I think then the reality of everything kicked in, like, shit, this is over, like, damn. And then some part of me, because I was so used to that toxic, I was craving toxic back. I needed drama now, because now I didn't know what it felt like to be normal. I developed a condition called vaginismus, which I'm gonna make a whole vlog about it, because most women don't know this, and it's happening to a lot of women. I tried to move on, and I developed this syndrome. Every time I tried to get close to another guy, I would just remember the hurt, the pain, and everything, and literally my pelvic zone would just do this. It would contract. And this went on for months, and the last 2 years it was a battle for me, because no matter how much I liked the person, I just couldn't get intimate with them. Like, I always related sex to pain, and I wasn't going through that again. So I would go to the hospital, because literally my pelvis would be contracting for weeks at a time. I have to make a whole vlog for that, because a lot of women go through this, especially Muslim women, and I would document and explain why. You can even research the name in the meantime. So I would go to the doctor to do checkups, and they're like, your results are completely clean. I had the cleanest results. I would tell them, doctor, but check now, something is doing me. They would check every STD, nothing. They would check my bacteria, nothing. They would check, nothing was wrong with me. But every time, I'm fine till I'm about to be intimate, and then I couldn't do it. That was when I realized I had to go back to therapy. I had not cried in 6 months. Then I went back to therapy. And slowly, as soon as, because at this point the doctors were making me feel like I was crazy, that something, I was creating a syndrome in my head, you know, and I would explain all my symptoms, but they were not understanding me. So I was so grateful that first day I went to therapy, and I explained to the lady what was going on with me, and she explained, she was the one who told me the name vaginismus, and I'm like, okay, now it makes sense, because I went to Google, I researched, I checked everywhere, I looked for other doctors that specialized in this, you know, and I was like so relieved. And then slowly she started breaking everything down to me, you know. My daughter, she couldn't sleep anymore. She would always cry. For at least 5 months she would cry every single night before she went to sleep. So my therapist thought it was wise for her to go to therapy, so she would go with me. I would do 1 hour, my daughter would do 1 hour, and yeah, somehow we managed to heal ourselves slowly but surely together. There were many days I would just be down and just look in space and confused, and my daughter is like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not okay. And she would fight me so angrily, like, just cry if you want. But I couldn't cry either. I was numb inside, I was dead inside. It just, all I knew is get to the next day, get to the next day. I wanted to sleep all the time. And this is why one of my next vlogs is gonna be about depression and how to manage depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. So guys, stay tuned for that, because trust me, in this world there are so many depressed people out there, and most of the time no one pays attention to them, and they don't manage the situation correctly. So I had to go through so much to heal myself, that when I look at myself today, I can't believe I'm the same person. Like, I've been through so much, and when I tell people I have earned the right to smile, I have earned the right to do what I want. I was a prisoner in my own house for 11 years, and I didn't know how to come out. So every time I smile genuinely. I still have a lot of healing to do. This year has been all about healing for me. I have gotten to a stage in my life that I am so content with my life. I am so okay with who I am. I just want to grow. I want to learn. I want to expand, you know. I want to embrace life. I want to love. This is why when I moved to Nigeria with the idea of, listen, we ain't doing that love nonsense, we working. And I happen to have very strangely fallen in love with someone that, even if we're not together right now, I would forever be grateful to him for that feeling. I thought I was broken. I thought it was impossible for me to love. And he brought me back to life. And thanks to that situation, even if it didn't end well because we just stopped talking, I learned about myself. I had to do the shadow work now. I had to go back within to figure out certain things about myself, and that's how I was able to heal past. You see, I did 2 years of therapy, and it helped so much, but there were a lot of things that sometimes come up as you go on. You have to heal as you go, and sometimes no matter how much you think you've healed, you kind of need practice. You need another relationship to show you certain things, so I was able to do my shadow work this period, and it was painful. It was very, very painful because I had to relive everything. I had to forgive my ex. I had to forgive the father of my child for everything, and I did that. I forgave the girl for making my life hell. I forgave everything. Everything is gone. But the one thing we ain't doing is letting bullshit come back. We ain't doing that. Took my daughter to therapy. I always, because he was never bad to her directly, although he didn't contribute to her livelihood at all, he still wasn't bad. I said, listen, I spoke to him many times after that, like, listen, we didn't work as a relationship. Yes, I am traumatized by you to the max, but we have this beautiful daughter together, and I want her to have a father. And each time he would tell me, I love my daughter so much, but I cannot be an outside home father. It's either I'm with you or I'm not with you guys. So it was either me and her, or that's it. Many times she would call him, he would say he's busy, he would call back, and he would never call back. My only request was I didn't want my daughter around that woman, because the things she put me through, I didn't want my daughter around that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's my child. I'm born your own. Every time she calls him, he's busy, he's busy, he's busy. And when he sees her, he would promise her, oh, don't worry, I'll come and pick you up. No, I had to take my daughter to school myself, which I was already doing from before. He had days when he would pick her up from school and take her to school, but most of the time he'd rather sleep. I mean, I was already doing everything in the house. The least you can do is take your child to school, I had to talk to the teachers because at one point we became so toxic that I had to talk to them like, listen, I'm the only one picking her up, she and my mom, We also got to the point that I realized I didn't know him at all, and I didn't know what he could be capable of. So every time my daughter would go to his house, I would feel uncomfortable. Not that he would do anything, but at this point, I don't know. So please, I tried to talk to him many times about her, which you guys are going to see. So I know he's going to try to come up with, oh, you're not letting me see my daughter. We tried. Trust me, there was nothing we didn't do. He didn't want to be part of her life, and it is fine.
To a meeting, or he needs to go to a meeting. And I don't have time to see him anymore. And when he comes to pick me up, he asks me, how was your day at school? And the rest of the ride home, not really anything.
So you guys don't really talk?
Us? Well, one time we did talk a little bit. Just how was your day at school? I said it was okay. Maybe some kids annoyed me today at school, and that's all. And I sometimes maybe just don't know what to say at that point because he doesn't even bring up anything. And how would I bring it up? Should I ask him? What did you eat today? Or how much did you sleep today? By what time did you wake up? Or
I mean, you can ask him those questions too. You can ask him anything you want. It's just the problem is you're uncomfortable now.
I know. And before I am a child that wants to see her father, but I cannot even do that to the point that he has now. He now even has on a Sunday a meeting. On a Sunday, he should be free and called me and say, "Oh, Anis, do you want to come over?" And I'll say, "Sure, let me just dress up and shower if I didn't shower yet." That's how it's supposed to be. Not, "Oh, sorry, I have a meeting." And then on days when I have school and I still have homework. And it's not even fair. If a child can see her dad at least 2 days or in the weekend at least, then what can she do? Just say, "Oh, now I don't even have a daddy anymore."
No, don't say that.
See?
Don't say that, mommy.
No one can say that. I love him.
Don't make me cry.
No, I'm not trying to make you cry. Aww.
You do have a daddy.
I do, see? And he's just making these things up like he has work to do, and I want to see him. 1 day at least. Not enough. Do you think FaceTime is enough?
Of course not.
And do you think normal call is even enough? No.
It's even worse.
He's now calling me on normal call. On normal call. Out of all things, he's on normal call.
And one day everything will feel good. I
I
promise.
told Daddy. And he said he would do his best. But this best is not anything better. It's just getting worse. A child shouldn't even be talking. Like, it's supposed to be the dad that is supposed to be bringing this up. Not the girl, the baby that doesn't even think at that moment. She just wants to see. So a child should not have to say to her daddy, "Oh, daddy, I want to see you more," or something like that. When I miss him, I should call him and say, "Daddy, I miss you and I want to see you and I want to just do something with you because I should also have a time with you."
I know, like structure, for you to have structure.
Exactly. Like, a human being cannot stay without a daddy. A human being cannot stay without a mommy, and a human being just can't stay without a
And a
family.
mommy can't be a daddy, and a daddy can't be a mommy.
Exactly.
half.
I need to have one person on one side and the other one on the other side. But if one of them is on another side, like on another house, and I have to call him and say, "I want to see you," then at least that. But if not even that is okay, then what else? Nothing. Nothing at all.
A few months passed after we broke up, and one day I was watching, 6 months passed, and I was watching cartoon one day with my friend and my family, Lulu, and my mom and my sister, and from nowhere, there was this scene in the movie that was so loving that I was finally able to cry my first cry in 6 months. I was the happiest person ever because crying just made me just let everything go, you know. That's when I realized, listen, if I feel down, I will cry. I stopped doing my relationship. There were many times, except I was really, really hurt, and you know, the words, that was only when I was allowed to cry, because he didn't like me crying. He said my crying made him feel more angry.